Hey, YouTube. All right, let's get this Q&A started. I just notified Homeschool's connected. We're going live. Now let's go to TikTok. Dibby, 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 you don't stop. What's that, Gary V? I don't care. All right. All right. The squirrel wars continue. You guys don't even know the half of it with these squirrels. With these squirrels stealing all my food. They drew first blood. Hey, Stephanie. The squirrels have drawn first blood. First they stole my peach. Then they stole my apples. And now I've caught them red-handed with my nectarines. And I walked outside this morning. First thing I saw is a squirrel right on top of Brady's treehouse, just dining on one of my hard work grown apples. And I chased him out of here. And now our mission for the day is going to be to deal with these squirrels because they are getting out of control. You know, I don't know how long I can leave the dogs outside to patrol. It's hot out here. Your shirt can't be more fitting for people living around me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. My dog is definitely smarter than the president. I mean, you know, at least my dog doesn't poop his pants. Oh, I digress. All right, let me grab TikTok. Let me grab them. Homeschool Q&A. President of the United States poops his pants. I got to get more active on the @RealBrettPike channel. I want to start doing skits on that channel. Like, just straight up, like, cultural comedy skit type of stuff. Or just, like, reflections of culture. Because I'm occasionally comedic. Where, like, I get an idea and it's really funny and I want to run with it. But if I'm not a comedian. Like, if I try to do it full time, I don't have the energy for that. But, like, cultural reflections with some comedy mixed in of just skits. Like, I want to do a skit on that channel. I've been wanting to do it for like 2 weeks. I just haven't had the time. Where we're like Jimmy Kimmel's writer room, and his staff are saying like, "Hey, why don't we write jokes about the president's son being a crackhead?" And Kimmel's like, "No. He's like, all right. The president's son got a stripper from Arkansas named Dallas pregnant. Like, we can make fun of that." And he's like, no, that's not the direction I want to go. Like, all right. What's up? I'm just on YouTube right now. I'm about to go live on TikTok. I got my regulars here. We're shooting it. We're kicking it. We're crushing. But yeah, I'll bring in the general population. So, yeah, you know, something like that. And like just shining a light on like, it's the dog that doesn't bark. If you want to understand these people, you have to understand what they don't bring up, what they don't talk about, because that's ultimately what they're paid to do, to distract you from the things that are obvious. So, all right, so let's go. Homeschool Q&A. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, TikTok. You are here with YouTube, and it is a marvelous day here in the sunny South. The trees are green, the leaves are shining, and these damn dirty squirrels have now stolen my peaches, my Honeycrisp apples, my nectarines. I've caught them red-handed with their little furry paws in the cookie jar, so to speak. I walked outside of my house this morning, and what did I see? I saw a squirrel sitting on top of my son's treehouse, dining on a delicious apple. And I knew where he got that apple, right off of the tree that I've been taking care of all summer. So I will be going to war with the squirrels today. I don't know what that will look like. I have to do my research. How to keep these squirrels and their filthy little squirrel paws off of my trees. But we will. Sent you a message and I haven't responded. Join the list. So today is our homeschool Q&A. You have questions, I might have answers, or if you want to ask questions about other things, I might answer them. I might not, depending on what I want to talk about. But homeschool questions, free range today. Hit it, let's go. So more and more people are recognizing that there is a massive problem with the way children are educated in public school. Marine Princess, I need you here to help take out these squirrels. You were trained by the United States military. We put in our tax money to make you a lethal weapon, and now I need you to help me take out these squirrels. They're stealing my peaches and everything else. But staying on topic, more and more people are recognizing the problem with the schooling system. And ultimately what it gets down to, outside of the indoctrination, which we're all aware of, the things they teach our children that we all think, or maybe you don't, but a lot of us do, think are inappropriate, right? Where they teach our children that their ancestors were bad, or to judge each other by microaggressions and immutable characteristics, or the perverted messaging where they teach things to children that I'm not even going to say that not anyone should be exposed to, but is so age inappropriate, it is mind-boggling. And it goes against the moral beliefs of myself and hundreds of millions of people in America, but the system doesn't care. The system is not there to serve you. The system is put in place to keep the general population subservient. And that is the primary function of the education system. Which is why people will look at it and say, you see the math scores? You see the science scores? America is failing. Yet, what I would tell you is that the American education system is actually a success because it does exactly what it was structured to do, what it was designed to do, to teach children to outsource their thinking to authority. I could show you the history. I could take you back to the Napoleonic Wars, right? Where Prussia got murked. Prussia got beaten back by Napoleon, right? And their generals said, hold the line. And their soldiers literally turned around, tucked tail, and ran away, disobeyed the orders. And after that, the government of Prussia got together and said, get me the leading psychologist of the day, leading social engineers of the day, and I need you to create an education system which will make sure our population is obedient to authority. And can you guess what education system they came up with? This was in the 1800s, and the education system they came up with was 8 hours a day, 45-minute blocks, bells, right? It was the education system we have today. And then in the early 1900s, the Rockefellers and some of these tax-exempt foundations, they got together and they wanted to take over the American education system for their own reasons, right? And what they did is, and you can read about this in the book Propaganda by Edward Bernays, written, 100 years ago, 80 years ago. And what they did was they used $10,000 grants, and then they created a propaganda campaign that you can have the most modernized, well-funded education system in the world. And Rockefeller will give you $10,000 to do it, which was an amazing amount of money at the time. So schools all over America started adopting the Prussian education system. And now we have a population that is subservient, that is obedient to authority. By the way, I will go up and answer all your homeschool related questions and possibly your other questions too. I just like to get through my rant. Otherwise, I get sidetracked by trolls and next thing you know, I'm yelling at someone. But they took over the education system. And now you'll hear the education system's a failure, the science, the math, and there's no doubt about it. Even the way it's structured, right? The education system does suck at teaching science. It does suck at teaching math. It does suck at teaching literacy and English. It certainly sucks at teaching history. But the reason it sucks is the way in which they teach. The way in which they teach. And that's what my Cubs to Bears video was about today. Because if you want your child to really understand history and be a historian, as they get older, you have to start letting them choose what they want to study. And then if they're interested in the Civil War or whatever it might be, or whatever historical topic, then you let them read the primary writings of people involved in that event. And then they can interpret the history. They can use their discernment. They can use their critical thinking. And they can interpret that history for themselves. Formulate their own unique understanding of what actually happened. And we all know from the news, right? You turn on the news, they can't give you a straight answer about something that happened a day ago. And you think history books are giving you a straight answer about something that happened 75 years ago? 175 years ago? You better check again. But they don't just read, oh, I'm interested in the Civil War. I'm going to read Abe Lincoln. That's fine. That's where you as the parents step in and say, after you read Lincoln, I need you to read Stonewall Jackson. What? Yeah, we need an opinion. We need opinions from both sides of this historical event. Because there's usually a left side, there's usually a right side, and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle. Which is why people see my books or they hear me talk about stuff and they go, oh, you're a right-winger, you're a right-winger. There's a left side, there's a right side, and there's the truth somewhere in the middle. I'm not a right-winger. I consider myself an environmentalist. I think man-made global warming is complete politically driven nonsense. I think that's a Ponzi scheme, but I'm a real environmentalist. I take care of the environment. I think Monsanto is the devil, and the left is right about that. I mean, California, as bad as they are, they're the only state that's held Monsanto accountable for what I would argue fall under the category of infringements against humanity. Got to be careful how we word things. Right? Right? So, I actually, there's something, Electoral College, remind me about that later, the Electoral College I want to talk about. But, so they try to put us in these boxes. They try to make us binary thinkers. But the truth of the matter is that the school system zaps people of their critical thinking. Because when they're studying science, they shouldn't be memorizing the Big Bang Theory, right? I mean, that's nice. You could go memorize their politically driven scientific theory. Or you can teach your child science through allowing them to develop a hands-on relationship with the scientific method. And then after they understand the method, after they understand the scientific method and how to determine if something is true or not, then you can start teaching them these big, overarching theories. Then you can start teaching them these big, overarching theories. Like I said, I am going to go back and answer all your questions, so we'll get back to the Big Bang Theory. When they study... Oh, by the way, we are currently, for members of Homeschools Connected, I don't know if you heard the news, Nicole and I have been putting together a science curriculum, which we will be rolling out this month, and children from a very young age will be developing a hands-on relationship with the scientific method, making observations, formulating their own hypothesis, setting up tests, setting up controls, setting up independent and dependent variables, and doing real science. And from March of 2020, we found out just how many people are completely and utterly incapable of distinguishing between the scientific method, which is sound and solid, versus authoritative God science, which has become a religion. What are you, a denier? No, I'm a thinker. There's a difference. When children learn English, they shouldn't be doing assignments and getting a grade back. Here, write this paper, all right? I'm going to mark it up with a red pen and give you a C. Did you learn anything? No, but I know I don't like writing. Well, yes, I know I don't like writing. The most important part of teaching your children to be good writers, and I am an Amazon #1 best-selling author. Now, give it, I would tell you that's because I became better at marketing than I became at writing, but nonetheless, I am a pretty proficient writer. If your child is going to become a good writer, they will become a good writer through the process of editing their own work. So when your children do an assignment, when they sit down and you have them write something, you need to sit down with them and go over each line. This is your topic sentence. I love that. Your topic sentence told me what the rest of this paragraph was going to be about. This is your thesis. I love that you had this thesis because it told me what the body of your writing is going to be about. You know, I really like this sentence, but it really ran on a little bit. And a few different ways that it could have been easier for me as the reader to understand is we could have put a period here and broke this into 2 sentences, or we could have put a comma here, or we could have used a semicolon. What's a semicolon? Well, now you know what a semicolon is, right? The editing process is how you create good writers, and it's how you develop critical thinkers. The scientific method is how you make someone good at science and how you develop critical thinkers. Studying history through primary documents and formulating your own theories is how you understand history and how you create critical thinkers. The way that school teaches people is wrong. But luckily, many people are realizing it. Fortunately, through the grace of God, more and more people are realizing the problems, the inadequacies with the system of public schooling and the nonsense that comes out of the political hacks at the Department of Indoctrination. Ooh, that felt good. I'm going to get that off my chest. Ooh, that felt good. Ooh, all right. All right, let's see. Let's go back and answer some comments. What's up, brother? The Real Wellness Warrior. I haven't got that podcast going because I'm still looking for volunteers. Like, I'll do it, but I need someone to volunteer to help with the logistics. Like, I'm going to have to buy the equipment, which is fine. I'll do that if everyone really wants it. I'll buy the equipment, and then I need to book people for the podcast. I need to do the research. Like that I have to do myself on that person so I have good questions to ask. I need to, after the podcast, I record it. The editing needs to be done, right? Like all this stuff takes a lot of time. The editing needs to be done. Clips need to be sent out. It needs to be posted to all these different platforms. So I want to do the podcast, but if I'm going to do it, I need someone to volunteer to assist with that. Are your trees close together? There are cages you could install so they can't climb up. Now that's useful information. Yes, my trees are close together. Maybe I could get cages. I was looking at cages or netting because the squirrels keep eating my food. Speak the Light, Marine Princess, and Target Practice. Is this why we are one of the most successful countries in the world? I mean, I don't know if America is the most successful country in the world. The most successful country in the world. I think we live in a country in which our children are actively groomed by our public schooling system. Is that successful? I don't see that happening in other countries. I see a country in which people think they're wealthy, but they're really just in lots of debt, right? And they're wage slaves and they live in a rat race, right? Like, people will look at like people in a tribe in Africa and be like, oh, look how poor they are. Man, I see people that are free. I see people that, you know, everything's a matter of perspective. Are we the most successful country in the world? I see um, I see the most violent country in the world. I see a country with the highest prison inmates per capita in prisons in the entire world. I see a country whose military has been used on the behalf of bankers and global corporations to kill not hundreds, not thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, not millions, but tens of millions of innocent women and children all around the world. That's what I see. Is America the most successful country in the world? It used to be, but it went morally bankrupt. And as soon as America lost its morals, as soon as the grandparents and the parents were saying, stop listening to Elvis, what he's doing, the way he's shaking his hips up there is inappropriate, and the television programmed the youth and said, no, no, they're squares. Your parents and grandparents are squares. Don't worry about that. Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, that's what a woman is. Don't have a family. No, you got to chase a career. You got to chase the stardom. That's what you got to chase. That is what a woman should be. She's revered. She's loved. A 34-year-old woman who died of a drug overdose? What is a 34-year-old woman doing drugs like that? What is that's your role model? As soon as America lost its morality, America lost its way. So no, America is definitely not the greatest country in the world, but it has the remnants of what was the greatest country in the world. It has the spirit within a large part of its nation, the people that remember what the American nation was and is, because a nation is not a land. That's a trick, right? That's a trick they played. Oh, the American nation is the land. Really? Is the Cherokee Nation the land? Or is it the Cherokee people? It's the Cherokee people. A nation is a people, right? And there still is a people in America who remember where we came from. In spite of the school system trying to separate people from their roots, in spite of all of the propaganda apparatuses coming together and getting people to embrace do as thou wilt Satanism and keeping up with the Joneses' materialistic culture. They have broken a lot of the American nation, but that nation remains. And there are people like me, and there's people like Marine Princess who are the best people, okay? And they remember what it's about, because it is about those founding principles, that we were endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. I didn't even see that comment. Marine Princess, I scrolled down a little bit. We aren't. We're a trash country. I didn't even see Marine Princess's comment when I was doing that rant. And then boom. Look at that. Look at that. It sounds like you're worried about them learning the truth. What truth is that? What is your truth? Tell me what the truth is. Tell me what the truth is, and then I'll dissect you for 30 minutes about why your truth is nonsense. I see you, squirrel. Yeah, I see you. I got something coming for you. I'm going to go buy a third dog. I'm going to chase him, Lou. I'm going to get these dogs on shifts. Good girl, Lou. Chase those squirrels. We don't like them anymore. They stole my peach and my apples and my nectarines. By the way, my dog chasing that squirrel, that's the greatest truth you'll find all day, because that is the most connected to nature and what nature is. All right, Lou, come here. Good girl. I don't like you running back there because there could be snakes. There was a copperhead in my backyard the other day. A copperhead snake, which I promptly decapitated. Now, you might say that is very, I'm a warrior and I took out the copperhead and protected my family. Well, I'll have you know it was already dead. It was already dead. But I didn't know that when I approached it. And my God, was it terrifying. But needless to say, we are in the South. Yeah, you're programmed to say that. Not enough people say, what about the slave owners' opinions? You probably don't know the first thing about the history of that topic, which I'm not going to get into because they make it so you can't, you understand that? Like, you understand that I can't even talk about that topic, right? Because they don't want you to know the history. And it's not to silence me, you understand? It's to keep you ignorant, right? But if you read primary documents of people from both sides of historical events, you'd have like a basic understanding of what I'm talking about. But instead they programmed you. Those opinions were bad. Don't hear them. Don't hear those opinions. They were bad. Because you're not thinking. Because you're not thinking. You don't even know what that war was fought about. You probably think it was about that topic. It wasn't. The people that want you to obsess over that, let me tell you a little secret. They're making you into that today. But you don't even know it. You don't even know it. How sad is that? How sad is that? Prisoners. Prisoners defending the prison, not letting the inmates escape. It's amazing. The power of social engineering. The last 150 years of intelligence agencies and governments putting billions of dollars into research, into social engineering, into mind control, into programs like MKUltra. And they turn the population, they turn the planet, the entire planet, into a prison. And they make the prisoners the prison guards. Come on, hit me with your next binary. Hit me with your next binary. Come on. Tell me who's bad. Who's the bad man? Who's the good man? Who's up on a pedestal and who's in the pit? Show me that binary thinking. But boom, left, right, left, right. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Mind control. I have seen the others, and I've seen their mothers, and this fight is not worth fighting, so take a shower and shine your shoes. You got no time to lose. You're a young man, you must be living. Go now, you are forgiven. Campaign finance is what's wrong with elections. It's certainly a major contributor. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I got contacted by, there was a person in our live stream yesterday, and they said that they made board games. So they emailed me their stuff after, and I gotta say, I am very enthusiastic. I mean, they're sending me a free copy in the mail, so I'm gonna play it first. But the Spin Doctor board game, I think the Spin Doctor, which is all about teaching children the Electoral College and how, like, politicians and the media lie and whatnot, and, like, it's a very promising looking game. They make games on a game called Conspiracy Theory. I'm enthusiastic enough about it that depending on how it turns out once I get the game, I might even approach them about partnering with them because I really like what they're doing. So we'll see how that goes. Memorize the Big Bang Theory. What are you talking about? Well, in the name, the Big Bang Theory is this word, theory. And the reason there's this word theory is because it's a theory. And it's taught in schools as if it is a scientific fact. But when you start to look into what the Big Bang Theory actually is, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out it's nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. In fact, they had claimed the universe was, I think, 13 billion or trillion years old. And then they found stars that were older than the universe. And then they just, they remade their theory. They're like, we know the universe has been expanding from this point because, the speed and the rate of, the rate at which things are moving apart from each other throughout the universe. And then they find stars that are older than the Big Bang Theory, and they're like, And at first they didn't realize. They were like, look how old this star is we found. You are so insignificant. You're an insignificant speck. And then people started pointing out. You're like, but you said the universe isn't that old. And they're like, we have done a recalculation. The universe is even older. It's even older. But yeah, I'm sorry if I don't quite buy into a theory that... So let me get this straight. There was nothing. And then nothing exploded. Nothing exploded. And then out of that explosion, there became an immense amount of something. And as that something drifted further apart from each other throughout the universe, it started to form into perfect order, to the point in which pi is everywhere in nature, and the Fibonacci sequence is everywhere in nature. Yeah, that doesn't suggest that there's intelligent design, right? That just came out of pure chaos, right? Because, if I were to take this, right? If I were to take this and slam it into the floor, right? And I came back in 2 trillion years, it will have reformed into this bowl, right? Right? Like in a billion years, this will just reform back on there, right? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. That's fine. I don't mind him teaching the theory and going over the evidence behind it. But what they do is they teach children this stuff from a very young age. They embed it in all their cartoons. They tell them it's a fact when they're very young. And then anyone who questions this stuff is mocked by the system, mocked by Hollywood, mocked by television, mocked by radio, mocked by their school teachers. And then because of that, most people don't have the intellectual courage to talk about the things that I'm talking about here, to even look at the things that I'm talking about here. How do I suggest feeding hundreds of millions of people? Well, I look around, I walk through town, and what I see is front lawns all over America covered in grass. Backyards all over America covered in grass. I see the sides of highways all over America covered in grass and trees that don't produce a blessed thing. I see parks all over America covered in grass. And if you wanted to feed everyone in the world, all you'd have to do is create a culture of gardening. And who controls our culture? I mean, we do, but we allow the television screen to control the culture, right? Like all these virtue signaling Hollywood celebrities that talk about global warming and whatnot and feeding the world, they create the materialistic culture in which people aren't doing these things. Where we could very easily live in a society in which when you walked outside, you saw nothing but apple trees and peach trees and pear trees. When you drove down the side of the road, you see hundreds of miles of apple trees, and the town could literally have programs, volunteers if they want, where people take care of the trees on the side of the road, pick them, and share them with the community. Like there's so many different ways you can do it. The reason world hunger is an issue isn't because they can't feed the world population. It's because they purposely make it an issue. You understand that? You understand that? You understand that all these philanthropic operations, like when they go to Africa and they give shoes to Africa and they like, we're helping, all these NGOs, I mean, it depends on the NGO, but the big ones, they aren't there to help. They aren't there to help. You see, when they take your shoes and they give them to people in Africa for free, what they did is they destroyed the local economy. Because now the people who would make shoes and sell them, and then that money would create a battery within that economy, right? Now they can't do that because no one's going to pay for their shoes when they're getting free Nikes. You understand? It is, the NGOs are modern colonization. They are modern imperialism. But they learned that those things became unpopular, so what do? They tie a nice pretty bow around it and then dumb the population down so much that they can't see it. We're going to Libya to spread democracy. Yeah, is that why they took out Gaddafi? Democracy? Duh! People believe this stuff. People believe this stuff, man, and you deserve it. You deserve it. I mean, shit, man. Think. Oh, God gave you a brain. He gave you discernment. If they were interested in feeding the world population, even outside of the gardening nonsense, outside of the gardening stuff, if they wanted to feed the world population, they wouldn't talk about food. 30% of all the food in America is thrown out. They would talk about infrastructure. They would invest money into the infrastructure required, the logistics, to get the food from garbage cans to people. They don't care about feeding the hungry. They keep them hungry. You better look up because, it might be happening to us, by the way. You better start gardening. I don't know if you've been paying attention to... I'm going to be careful how I word that. I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of the tragic accidents that have been happening lately with, certain types of processing facilities being destroyed, certain types of animals like cows and chickens having all these things happen to them. Yeah, I wouldn't rely on those people that are trying to feed people in Africa. Yeah, they're going to feed you like they feed people in Africa. You want to feed people in Africa, drop off a bunch of soil and seeds. Despite what the media might have, despite what the leftist virtue signalers might believe, because they actually believe people are stupid, the people in Africa are very smart, all right? They live off the land, they know how to do things, and if they were given just basic resources, right? If you wanted to help them, provide them with some seeds and some fertilizer, they'll do great. They'll feed themselves. They don't need you. They're actually smart people. They don't need you. Jesus, man. They took out Gaddafi because democracy. Gaddafi had made the Great Man-Made River. The Great Man-Made River, which was also called the Eighth Wonder of the World, was a 1,700-mile pipeline from underwater aquifers. A 1,700-mile pipeline. These huge concrete pipes that ran deep underground into the desert. And Gaddafi had figured out how to get all of this water to the desert in Libya. And he was doing Libya first stuff. He was giving free farmland, like a lot of land, to all these people that would move out to the desert, and now they had a way to get them water. Free farmland. If they got married and started having children, he would give them $50,000 US. $50,000 US towards starting their house, which, by the way, would basically pay for their entire house. He'd give them a house in Libya. They had to pay it back, but you ready for this? He controlled the national bank, not the globalist, so they paid it back at 0% interest. He was giving people homes. They had to pay it back at 0% interest. He was giving them the farmland. He was even giving them all of the animals they needed. He'd give them cows and chickens and goats, right? He was getting the dinar back on the gold standard, right? And understand that the American dollar is not on the gold standard. The American dollar is backed by the United States military, the IRS, taxing Americans, right? Because they're going to collect that money, so that gives it value. And the petrodollar. And the petrodollar is that petroleum has to be sold in United States dollars. Anywhere in the world, if you're buying petroleum, you're buying it in United States dollars. Well, Gaddafi came along. He started getting the Libyan dinar back on a gold standard, and he had a tremendous gold reserve, which meant if he kept it up, the African dinar would have became the most valuable currency in the world. You understand, when you understand the systems, you understand where it's going, right? You understand, oh, because this has actual value, right? So there was even talk of the dinar in Libya becoming the official currency of all of Africa, right? And what would that have done for Africa? Oh, I thought we're trying to feed them. I thought we're trying to feed Africa. We can't have Africa having the monetary standard of the world, can we? The African dinar can't be the world's money reserve, right? We can't have that. No, they can't have that, right? So he was getting the dinar, he was building it up, putting Africa on the map, and he was about to, allegedly could it be, start selling Libyan petroleum in the dinar instead of the US dollar. So what happened? Libya had to get some democracy. Oh, and by the way, after Libya had to get democracy, right? After they went in there and gave Libya some democracy because they're so worried about feeding the people in Africa. After that, people, right? They went in, they destabilized the government, they killed Gaddafi, and after that, people were literally being sold in the streets. If you want to go back to that, should we read the primary documents of people that were I've been told are so evil? Yeah, that's in the real world. That's today. Okay? That's today. That's not 1860. That's today. See, I actually care about that stuff. I actually care about people. I actually view Africans as being equal to me. I actually view Africans as being, because I know them, they're very intelligent people. No, but you want to roll with the system because the system's what's looking out for you. The system's looking out for them. Man, study the system. Know it by its fruit, not its words. Words. We want to feed the hungry people. We want to spread democracy. You can't be that naive. Of course their words are blanketed in a cloak of altruism. You wouldn't support it if they weren't. It's the nature of the beast. Evidence-based medicine. They're trying to keep you healthy, man. Congratulations on the new curriculum. We're so excited. Yeah, I'm really excited with the science curriculum. So I'm still putting it together, but I'm really excited about it because I really want to start putting it together where we could teach children the scientific method and observations and everything awesome that goes along with that. So 7 kids and possibly 6 more. Oh, well, that's going to cost, if you want to join my community with that many kids, it's going to be a lot of money. It's $10 a month for your whole family. Use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase. Bea learned so much about the writing. Facts. Bea learned so much about writing from correcting pen pal letters. And we have a pen pal program, which Jessica's probably referring to. We have an awesome pen pal program in Homeschools Connected. All right, this jumped a bunch of comments. Hold on. I think I was way behind, like way behind. I kind of want to see all these comments, though. I've been going off a little bit today. I am so glad I found you. My son's in kindergarten. Starts this year. Can't wait to do it myself. Yeah, and just start now. Like, you know, your son's in kindergarten. Do a lot of fine motor activities, music activities, art activities, singing, dancing, a lot of free drawing. Start working on the letters. Don't make him feel upset about it if he's not getting it right away. Just make sure he's exposed to the letters. You know, like I do a lot of stuff. We have Reading Eggs, which Marine Princess recommended to me, which is a good program. I have ABC Dr. Seuss, which is a really good book. Curious George Learns His Letters, which is a really good book. And, you know, just a lot of stuff we do like that. Did you hear the Fed chair officially announced they're rolling out the digital dollar? Yeah, that's what the entire, like the last few years is all about the digital dollar. That's coming. I told people there's no getting around that. That's coming, and that's ultimately what they want because they need to reset the financial system because the Ponzi scheme that was the Federal Reserve System, it's run its course. The dollar's been so devalued, they can't stop printing money at a record rate because if they do, the entire debt-based system will collapse. But the bankers, they think if they could get it onto a digital dollar, they can reset their position financially and they could keep control longer. And then on top of that, it's like hell on earth. Like, because now you get to the point where they could literally turn off your ability to do banking with the flip of a switch, right? And if there's no physical cash, you're in a lot of trouble, which is why I tell people you need to have chickens. They produce eggs, cows, they produce milk, grow food, because all of this stuff could be bartered. All of this stuff could be traded, and the world is going in a very dystopian direction. And anyone who can't see that probably thinks that I'm the problem. And, you know, because I'm questioning the system. The system. You know, I'm trying to prevent the system from feeding hungry people in Africa. What was I thinking? I'm trying to stop the system from spreading democracy to Libya. What was I thinking? What is your podcast called? What type of people are you looking for? I can help. Oh, Danielle, can you email me at classicallearnertoday@gmail.com? The idea behind the podcast is to bring in people from really interesting people, interview them about like what their specialty is, what they know about, and then the second half of the interview will be all about how to educate children in that area of expertise, and then like what resources they recommend, everything. The second half of the podcast will be for Homeschools Connected members only, and on top of that, so the Homeschools Connected members will have access to how to teach children all of this stuff, and all the resources they recommend, we could add to Homeschools Connected. So that's the idea behind the podcast. Yeah, America's lost morally. That's the problem. America's a third world country in a Gucci belt. That's hilarious. I love that. When the corporations stole the land from the indigenous people, they certainly did. But don't get it wrong. The corporations that have done everything they've done, the government that has done everything they've done, yes, they are the corporation of America, including the government. But America, although I've ripped it this whole time, is the greatest country in the world in that the remnants of what the founding fathers did with the early government is still in place. The bones of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, those are two of the most powerful documents in the history of humanity. And when Americans get back to morality, start rejecting their sin, build community, and embrace rugged individualism, once again, like they did 200 years ago, America can recover what was the greatest country in the world. But that requires the American nation. That requires the people. Walking around the grocery store while the guy on the phone yells at squirrels. Black snakes are the best. Yeah, well, this wasn't a black snake. This was a copperhead. It was a copperhead. He never wants to teach his children about their ancestors. Incorrect. My children will know more about their ancestors than you do. Right? You understand? But they'll actually be taught to think. They'll read the writings of their ancestors. And they'll read the writings of indigenous people. They'll read the writings of the people that Christopher Columbus slaughtered. Not that I'm an ancestor of Columbus, but you get the point, right? They're great explorers, not the descendants of genocidal maniacs. You don't know what you're talking about. Right, you become what you think about, right. So where do you find the material for our kids to read? So, like this week in Homeschools Connected, I posted nationalarchives.gov. Great place to find primary documents. The Library of Congress.gov. Great place to find primary documents. There's a lot of resources available for that. I'm going to be posting more and more of them to Homeschools Connected. And my objective is to now actually start putting together the primary documents so I could just hand feed them to you as well. When you refuse to teach your children real history, then you're scared. No, 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 no. Understand what I said. I said that my children will read primary historical documents from people on both sides of American conflicts. You understand that? They'll read the indigenous people, they'll read slaves, they'll read all of it. But what you're saying is that you'll only allow your children to read hand-picked, cherry-picked alleged facts put together by politically driven people at the Department of Education. So my children get exposure to everything and yours don't. You're the one that's afraid. I'm not going to go that hard on you, but you don't know how to think. You have had your critical thinking faculties zapped from your mind. And when you see someone like me, you don't know how to deal with me because you can't put me in a box, right? Your instinct is like, oh, he's a right winger. But then you hear me talking, you're like, wait, he's so anti-war. He's so against these big corporations. What is he? What is he? He's a thinker. I'm surrounded by them. I surround myself with critical thinkers. Because when you put yourself out there, you start to attract them. You understand? You should try it. But when you get into these circles, instead of acting like you know everything, you should listen. You should listen. Everything like, your whole worldview is what's presented to you, right? I bet after last month you were like, oh my God, look what happened. We need to take all the firearms. They told me, look what happened. Yeah, while they're at it, they should make murder illegal too. Oh wait, it is illegal, and people still do it. Huh. While they're at it, they should make drugs illegal too. Oh wait, they are illegal, and people still do it. But in my binary mind, the only possible response is to disarm law-abiding citizens. That's the only reasonable response. Yeah, funny thing, you don't see a lot of police stations getting hit up, do you? Why is that? Is that because the police are armed? What if you just let more people be armed? Hey, there's a concept that worked. 1,000,000 freedom-loving people emerge. See, I'm not the only fish in the sea. But it feels so empty without me. Your whole worldview is a binary of what these psychopaths put together. They're molding your worldview. Like, you only look at this. Only look at this. That guy on the internet, he's telling you to look outside of this. Look outside of it. Oh, I can't. It's too scary. Oh, I can't look that way. It's too scary. Oh, the news media told me those are bad people. Those are bad people. I can't look into what Gaddafi actually stood for. The news media told me he's a bad person. I'm afraid. You're afraid. Stop projecting your fear onto me. One guy say, look at everything. Other guys say, only look at narrow stuff because everything else I'm told is bad. And that guy telling me to look at everything's afraid. He's afraid to think. Oh, man. Come on, brother. You got to go harder than that. You got to go harder than that. I've been trying to contact your school. I'm the school. That's me. That's me. Email me at classicallearnertoday@gmail.com. classicallearnertoday@gmail.com. Yeah, scientist with the money sign. I love it. You know, it's funny. They always tell us the science is settled. The science is settled. You know, they just don't tell you what they mean by that is it's like a financial settlement. We met and the science is settled. What do you mean? Yeah, we had a meeting and now the science is settled. Like you agreed on the science? Yeah, kinda. Are you a denier? Are you a denier? Yeah, I mean, you'll talk about CRT, but you don't even understand the function of it. The function of it is to divide people by their outward characteristics, right? You understand that? That is the function of that curriculum. Because when the controllers, when the powers that be, get people to obsess over outward characteristics, you see, then they can predict how those different groups will react to certain events. Which is why when you turn on the television, you'll see police shootings, but only a certain type of police shooting, right? Right? You don't see other people shot by police, even though they are all the time, because the function of that coverage is division. You understand? You understand? See, if you go read Propaganda by Edward Bernays, and he was the father of propaganda. That's who he was. He worked for the government, called him in for all their wars, and the Rockefellers called him in for all their nonsense. You understand? He outlined this very clearly of how you control a population. You do it through what they're teaching in the schools. Do you understand? Do you understand? I'm not the divider. The people that control your way of thinking are the dividers. You see, they're dividing for power. You see? Look up COINTELPRO. Learn what your government is. Jesus. Read Orders to Kill. Yeah, oh, what's Orders to Kill? What Orders to Kill? I'm not allowed to talk about it on here. Go read Orders to Kill. Learn what your government and your news media really are. Jesus. Get your Republican education. You see? You're still trying to put me in a box. You see? You don't know how to deal with me because I'm breaking all of your programming. He is supposed to believe this. He is supposed to believe that. No. I read the Quran. The Quran's a beautiful book. Islam is a beautiful religion. You see? You can't put me in a box. I read Malcolm X. The media will tell me he was a scary man. No. Malcolm X was a great man. You see? I read his autobiography. Hey, what do you say? Should we let them divide us today, or maybe tomorrow, or perhaps yesterday, depending on where you are? I have the replay of the propaganda class available, and the propaganda class alone is well worth it. So, and I had a lot of fun teaching that class. Like, I dressed up as a cat, I dressed up as a news rooster. Like, it was I really just acted out plays essentially for that class, which was pretty cool, and I had a lot of fun with it. Right, the system is designed to separate people. That's the point of the system. Homeschool's connected. It's classicallearner.com. You'll see Homeschool's connected. Use the discount code FREEDOM. No, I don't have a problem with Juneteenth. Why would I have a problem with Juneteenth? You know, if people want to celebrate something that's important to their history, and I don't think there's any doubt that slavery ending is an important part of American history. It's an important part of world history. It was really a revolutionary act in world history that once again America proved to be the freest, most liberating land in the world, because slavery had been around throughout all of human history. And for the Americans to come together and abolish it was a really big achievement in human history. And, you know, if people want to celebrate that, especially if their ancestors were slaves themselves, I mean, I don't see the problem with that. Now, I don't like the way corporations shove it down everyone's throat, along with, you know, everything else that corporations shove down everyone's throat, right? The way, you know, all this stuff is taught, because they teach fake narratives. But the holiday itself, like, no, there's nothing wrong with celebrating that. Oh, you can't put me in a box. Oh, you know what to do. Oh, you give them your Republican education. Oh. You're a good sport, though. I'm giving it to you hard, but you're a good sport. I appreciate you being here. You're a good sport. Most countries abolished it before. I would argue that most countries still have it today. What about the Irish and the Chinese slaves? Yeah, no doubt about it. They just don't talk about that stuff because it doesn't fit the narrative. But yeah, they went through it too. In fact, most people, most groups throughout human history were enslaved at one point or another. They don't want people to know that, but that's just the truth. So Gwen is saying the UK might have beat us to it. I'll take your word for it. It's good for the UK. Yeah, Gaddafi was giving the banks a problem. How do you hate people while sitting on stolen land? What do you think I'm not an ally to those people? Oh, your worldview's so backwards. Oh man. The Seminole Indian tribe during the Trail of Tears, their chiefs went back to their people in Florida and told them that they were forced to sign the treaty. And the Seminole Indians proceeded to attack a military regiment in Florida, and they took out 107 of 110 men. And the United States military for the next 7 years, 35,000 troops and over $20 million, which is an obscene amount of money at the time, fighting the Seminoles. And the Seminoles would win the Seminole Wars, and the United States military backed down, and they took their land in Florida. And the Trail of Tears, the Wounded Knee Massacre, I mean, all of these are terrible stains on American history and the history of our government. But, you know, governments do bad things. And just to think for 1 second that I'm their enemy, oh, please. Oh, please, you're their enemy. You don't even know it because you do the bidding of the people, of the institutions that actually commit atrocities. You understand that? You understand that if you're these institutions and you're committing these atrocities, like if you're invading Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Syria and Egypt and other countries they're not telling us about, if you're selling bombs to Saudi Arabia so that they can take out Yemenis children as they do a blockade around Yemen. Oh, what's happening in Yemen? I haven't heard about that in my programming. Yeah. No, I'm an actual ally of oppressed people. What's happening in Yemen, which is supported by the United States, made possible by the United States, is a disgrace. Okay? It's a disgrace. These are crimes against humanity. You understand that? You understand that? Right? You understand that these institutions that do these things, they need your support to do them. So what they do is they create these narratives. It's called social engineering. They've invested billions and billions of dollars into this stuff. Look up MK Ultra and all of that stuff the CIA did, right? Billions and billions of dollars into studying how to control your mind and to make you into an autonomous drone. You understand that? Regurgitating their nonsense. Jesus. And then they use their billions of dollars to create a conglomerate. You see, 90% of what you see on television is actually controlled by the same 5 corporations. And those same 5 corporations, they're all controlled by Vanguard and BlackRock. You understand that? You understand that? These are conglomerates. You understand? So they have the television, they have Hollywood, they have media, they have the social media companies, which they leverage control over with their money and by calling Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress. You understand that? And then they get to push out this very corporate uniform message, which is why all of the corporations, like, do you ever stop to think, are all of these corporations really virtuous and care about us? Or are they, in fact, doing what they're told for money and profit as part of a social engineering scheme? Or is Nike, do they really care about the social issue of the day as they have slave labor in China? Or are they just part of a social engineering scheme? Look at yourself. Think really critically about it. Think about it. And then stop spewing your nonsense in my chat and realize that you're the one that's brainwashed. You're the one that hurts indigenous people. Because you're echoing the message of the institutions that actually hurt them. You understand? Do you understand the words that be coming out of my mouth? This one's for Mandela. Chris Tucker. Enjoyed those movies. No, I mean, I don't care about, I don't care about the treaties. Like, you could blame the natives for breaking the treaties. I mean, let's talk frankly about what occurred here. I mean, Europeans came from a foreign land and they murked the native population, okay? What happened was wrong. There's no doubt about it. Now, those populations, was their sin in part to blame for it? Of course. They were fighting amongst themselves, right? But don't mistake for 1 second with what happened to the natives was okay. Those are also crimes against humanity. It was a travesty, okay? Call a spade a spade. My consultations are per kid, but I don't take them. I haven't been taking them all year. People want them. I just tell them, if you want my counsel, just join Homeschools Connected. It's a lot cheaper than $300 for an hour. It's $10 for a month. And you have an open chat with me 24/7. It might take me a few days to get back to you because I get a lot of inboxes. But yeah, you have an open instant message with me in Homeschools Connected. And I even, like, if you ask me to, if you're in Homeschools Connected, I'll pop on the phone with you for 20 minutes. We could talk. It's, no worries. So. And that's $10 for your family for Homeschools Connected, not per kid. Yeah, Melissa, I could always use more seeds. Why am I yelling? Because it gets the people going. That's why. Fear? Well, no, since I purchased the firearms. That's great. Can't wait for the science curriculum. Scientific method is why I don't believe modern science. They never observed their work. That is correct. No, I just jumped. Oh no. Lost my spot. A propaganda class is important. Teaching correct history is also essential. Yeah, they're both essential. Your children have to have a root in that they understand where they came from and how they got here. And then they also need to understand how that's being manipulated in the modern world. And if they don't have both of those things, then they are setting, or you are setting them up for manipulation. So, love your neighbors, don't be divided. Right, that's how you win. I miss these daily loud talks. I gotta say, Marine Princess, I just felt like you ditched me. You know, it's fine. You know, you probably, you had things going on. You get your RV, you're selling your house. You're crushing, you're canning. But it hurt a little bit. It hurt a little bit. Everybody hurts sometimes. Oh, it looks like Chopped got blocked. I don't question my moderators, so if Chopped is blocked, then Chopped gotta go. Yeah, well, putting it on Father's Day, I think, is their way of doing a joke, but uh, I digress. I digress. It was the day after. I guess you don't even care enough to learn. Says the guy who doesn't want his children learning both sides of arguments. Uh, that's like the gamma mindset. Like, it was so easy. Notice how Marine Princess is like, it's fine. We learn things all the time. Like, earlier in this chat, someone was like, no, the UK abolished slavery before the United States. I wasn't like, oh my God, screw you. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I might have got that wrong. It's not hard to admit you get something wrong. Who cares? Yeah, my ancestors are people that came from Slavs. Yeah, exactly. The Slavic people. Where does that come from? And it still exists today, absolutely. Chopped. I'm not the one that justifies it. You do. You do. You support the modern day, today, you support servitude. Let me guess. Did you support the Arab Spring? Did you? Did you? Then you support that today. Hypocrite. And no, obviously from this whole talk, I've stated it's wrong time and time again. Right? You understand that? You're the one that supports it. But you're a clown. A person like that, they never admit they're wrong, and because of that, they're not capable of learning, you see? So I could provide them all the information about why these institutions are actually turning their mind into jelly, right? But they'll never let it sink in because that cognitive dissonance goes up. They're a gamma male. They have that mindset like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Gaddafi probably had his flaws too. You understand? Right? Like, there's not, in this world, like, we're taught, like, there has to be a good guy and there has to be a bad guy. More often than not, it's just like a bunch of bad guys fighting for power. And then they use useful idiots like Chopped to do their bidding. Chopped is still stuck on low. I mean, I don't want to pick on Chopped. He's not here anymore, right? So, do I acknowledge the systematic ism they face today? I mean, the native tribes, the Native American tribes, there's no doubt they're still abused by the American government today. Um, yeah, they've had a rough go with the American government. But it's also what produces some of the strongest people. Like, like Kyrie Irving, for example. People are like, oh, why did Kyrie Irving, no matter what, he wouldn't cuck to the NBA, he wouldn't cuck to New York State, he wouldn't cuck to the United States government? Because Kyrie Irving, right, he belongs to a Native American tribe. And because of that, he's been screwed over by the government enough, and his people actually remember where he wasn't going to do that. So good for Kyrie. One of my heroes, one of my only sport heroes. All land was stolen from some group of people at some point, and that is the truth. That's the truth of human history, and that doesn't make it right, but it's the truth. In fact, Americans are having their land stolen right now, and they're they've been guilted so much. Their understanding of history has been so manipulated that you'll get people like Chopped who are like, how do you feel sitting on stolen land? And because of that, he doesn't understand what's happening around him. That America is being imperialized right now through open borders, right? That it's an invasion. He doesn't understand. And not that the people that are coming here are bad. They're doing the same thing that I would do, right? You understand that. But it's these GMOs, it's these corporations, it's these governments, these global governments that are trying to subvert the sovereignty of individual nations, especially America, because once they do that, they'll take full control. So they're actually supporting they're being imperialized right now, and they're too brainwashed to understand it. And because of that, they're being set up to be conquered. And that's why I say an American nation is a people. You have to know where you came from. You have to understand history. And you have to understand propaganda. Otherwise, you're going to be imperialized, right? You'll be those people that, but there's no food. Can you feed us? You don't see that setup coming? Oh, man. It would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. Do you teach history from the indigenous point of view? Like I said, the proper way to teach history is what happened to the indigenous people, what both sides of it, and then to literally have your child read the original writings of the indigenous people, right? So if you followed my classicallearner.com TikTok channel, you would see all of the videos I make on the Wounded Knee Massacre, on the Trail of Tears. So, of course, why wouldn't you teach that history? You better understand what happened to the indigenous people because it's happening to you right now. Like, you understand? Right? You understand? My family is Comanche. We are in all the history books as the worst. I wouldn't believe them. By the way, Unicorn Mom, I'm not getting after you. I'm just talking about in general how to study this stuff. Like, nah, Unicorn Mom can ask questions. That's fine. That's fine. It's important to know, like, someone who's new here looks at me and they might be considering having me be an influence over their children or my curriculum, right? And it's completely relevant for them to ask all these questions. And I surprise people. Like when they, like people think I'm going to be like, oh, the indigenous blah, blah. Like, no, the indigenous people were abused. What happened to the indigenous people is a crime against humanity, is brutal, right? But the world is just more nuanced. The world is very nuanced. You're coming from different cultures that are hundreds of years old, right? And like people think that this world was this place of human liberty. It wasn't. Like these are new concepts, right? Like, yeah, and these ideas were very powerful and they shaped the world we're into today. So it's just a lot more nuanced than people in the modern world typically understand. Join us. Trail of Tears, Indian forced off their land, refused caravan, and decided to walk the long journey. Take the power from the corporations. They take care of the money and they use it to control the people. Oh yeah, I really twisted the Trail of Tears. Tears. See, like this is what you're seeing is the gamma male. And the gamma male, no matter what you point out, or like he'll just twist your words and be like, so you see? They're very spiteful, they're very jealous, they're obsessed with social status, which is why they'll never go against like the institutional virtue signaling. Like you see how everything that guy says is like virtue signal, virtue signal. But what about this? But what about this? And even though my views fall no way in line with what he would expect, he'll never acknowledge that. It's the gamma male. It's like this jealous, spiteful, like little type of male, and it runs rampant on the internet and all over our society. And these are the type of guys you don't want to let near your daughter, right? These are the type of guys who like they'll turn themselves into the victim rather than taking personal responsibility in their relationship. These are the type of guys that like they'll like go to feminist rallies and pretend to be a feminist because they're so sweet and they want to get laid. And these are the type of guys that, they find out 4 years later their wife is getting railed out by the personal trainer at the gym because she wanted to be married to a man. You understand? The corporations do run our society and country. We need to take power. We workers have workers own the means. It's a dangerous. Workers owning the means of production just means that the government corporate partnership owns the means of production, right? Like China, right? Like, oh yeah, the workers are really owning the means of production, right? Like, no, 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 no. Yeah. If you decide he's banned, he's banned. Yeah, that's fine. He could be banned from the Discord. If you say he's banned, he's banned. If my wife says someone's gone, they're gone. Yeah, I mean, the way the world functions today, it's really like corporate government partnerships. And when they spew that, like, workers taking over the means of production, again, that's just propaganda for, like, the government corporate partnerships. No, the way you push back against the system is you keep Walmart out of your town, right? Like, you lobby your local government to keep Walmart out of the town. You don't shop at Walmart. You buy mom and pop. Like, the workers owning the means of production is a small business, right? Like, I own a small business. I own the means of production in my small business. The mom and pop shop on the corner, they own their means of production. It's when we get into trouble is when these corporations become so big that they become intertwined with the government. It becomes a type of fascism, a type of it's like a mix of communistic fascism, and that's what controls most of the world today. Nike supports abortions, and I haven't bought them since I was 15. Good for you. That's how you win. Like people think you win by voting, but if there's an issue that's important to you, right? And there's a company that backs that issue, the way you change things is by cutting out the money, right? You stop supporting them financially, and that's how you win. I don't care about treaties. What respect for the natives you support, laughing my ass off. You don't get it, Chopped. What I'm saying is, I don't care if the natives were coerced into signing a treaty. That doesn't give the treaty validity. And yes, the natives were coerced into many of these treaties. You don't get it. Yeah, babe. We're gonna block him. He wrote that I should be on an FBI watch list. I take that as a personal threat. If you go onto my desktop, it's already logged in. I should be on an FBI watch list. I take that as a personal threat, because if you understand how these things function, right, that is a recipe for having bad things happen to you. So that I take that as a personal threat. Look at Chopped. He went from we're afraid to have our children learn things to this guy disagrees with me, so he should be on an FBI watch list. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah, Nicole was saying he's in Homeschools Connected. Don't ever think because you give me $10 a month you could talk to me that way. Goodbye. Vikings came first and left. Vikings are awful and killed and pillaged every land. Yeah, the Vikings are the ones that actually discovered America, at least to my understanding. You know, history is always, you're always evolving. Um, how and where do I subscribe? www. Yeah, Hardware Bear. He's trying to put me on an FBI watch list because I have a different opinion than him. Yeah, www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected. Use the discount code FREEDOM. It's $10 a month. Yeah, I mean, Europeans ran ramshot across the world. I mean, what Europe did to the world is egregious crimes against humanity, right? You understand that? Like, never lie to yourself about history. Like, it's fine. There are dark parts of history, there are positive parts of history. And when you understand them both and the nuance of it, you could actually position yourself to make the world better in the present world. But if you're just a virtue signaling psychopath like Chopped, then all you'll do is the bidding of the very institutions that are still running ramshot across the world today. And he'll feel good about it because he's virtue signaling, not realizing that his mindset is what's responsible for people actually being colonized in the modern world. It's fine, babe. He can talk shit for 5 minutes. I'll ban him in 5 minutes. Oh, I can't wait to see Gunter go at this guy. I have the best community ever in Homeschools Connected. Yeah, if any of you want to jump in there and just get at Chopped, just don't let him bait you into racial stuff. Like, don't even, like, we're above that. Like, I don't do the virtue signaling stuff, but, like, I don't love that stuff either. Don't let him bait you into it. Just, call him out for what he is, an indoctrinated, brainwashed, spiteful little person. Like, don't let him bait you into all that. Like, I don't like that nonsense either. I'm not about that. Like, I'm not, you know. My people are truthers. My people are Christians. My people, and not that you have to be a Christian to be my people, but like my people value truth. My people are Christians. They're moral. They come from all backgrounds. They value traditional America. They value the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And they could be white, blue, green, black. I don't care. My people are. It's my nation. It's a mindset. You understand? Curriculum for teenagers. Curriculum for teenagers. I would say, well, with teenagers, you want to be doing some degree of unschooling. So you want to make sure that you follow their interest and get them entrepreneurial experience. And that could be starting a lawnmower business, right? Over the summer, like whatever you want it to be. You want to start teaching them, like, you want them to start studying institutions. So reading books about like the way media functions, the way, like they could read Propaganda by Bernays is a book we talked about. The Creature from Jekyll Island is a great book. The primary writings of George Washington and Ben Franklin, anything like that. You want them studying topics they're interested in and using their critical thinking faculties. And then, my classes are pretty good as well. I'd be remiss to say, right? My course on the media industrial complex, propaganda, the Bill of Rights. He's been put on the chopping block. Feral Patriot for the comment of the day. I love it. He's been put on the chopping block. So, what do we do to change and win? Now, that's a good question. We reject their culture. We take personal responsibility. We get married young. We reject promiscuity. We get married young. We have lots of children. We be a good husband. We be a good wife. We homeschool our children. Don't let them be indoctrinated. We turn off the TV at night and we build side businesses. We build up our businesses. We hire our friends. We love thy neighbor. We treat our neighbors with respect. We know your local farmer. You know your local chicken farmer. You grow your own food. You exercise your rights. You study your rights. You live within your means. You stay out of debt if you can. I understand it's hard. It's an expensive world. You stay out of debt if you can. You don't keep up with the Joneses. And you become harder to control. And then you build up your nation. And that's how you win. Public schools in my town look a lot like prisons. All right. I think they have open borders because they're trying to sever the percentage of the population that is connected to America's founding principles so they can subvert the country. Because if you're bringing in people from different cultures, they have different principles, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to understand that there's many different forms of taking over a country, right? And by just opening borders, you can literally vote out the traditional culture of a country and take over that country. And then on top of it, they're well aware that the American population, the young population, has been going down, and they need young men in here and young women in here to make up the workforce. So they're literally bringing people in for cheap labor, ironically, right? For cheap labor. They could pay them under minimum wage, and ultimately they'll have enough people to fill jobs. Because we're being massively, well, let's just say that the birth replacement rate in America is a 1.7. For every 2 parents, there are 1.7 children in America. You don't have to be a mathematician to understand that the population is going in a certain direction. It's hard for many of us to bypass Walmart due to prices and poverty in the US. Yeah, that's true. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Walmart makes things cheaper, but the bottom line is, like, you've voiced some collectivist type opinions here today. And the truth of the matter is collectivism done by the government is the most brutal form of tyranny in the entire world. But voluntary collectivism, the type of collectivism I actually support, is actually the best system. So if you support collectivism, but you're not buying mom and pop, but you don't know your local farmers, you don't really support collectivism. You support authoritarianism, and you've been told that that's collectivism. If you want to beat back the capitalist system, the only way you're doing that is through buying mom and pop, by knowing your local farmers, and living within your means. And other than that, it's our sin that will be our downfall. And I'm guilty of it. Like, I shop at Walmart sometimes. I make it a point to go mom and pop as much as I can. But yeah, you're right. And listen, that's it's tough. 65% of Americans are in a food desert. Nah, you're full of excuses. That's all excuses. There are farmers everywhere in America. You can grow food. There's a lot of things you can do. And even that, you could still shop at local, at smaller grocery stores, right? Like, all excuses. Yeah, he went from me not being open-minded to I should be on a watch list because I'm too open-minded. The shirt says that my dog is smarter than the president. I like it because no matter who they elect next, it's still relevant. No, I mean, a lot of these presidents are smart. Like, Trump and Obama were smart, you know? Trump and Obama are smart people. Biden is just, I mean, that guy's lost. I don't even know if he was smart at one time. Like, he might have been, but now he's just senile. I don't care what you call the theory. I haven't read that theory, but my guess is they add subversive nonsense into it. It's factual theory. They have been trying to subvert traditional American values by lowering the percent of the population that has a connection to those values. Now, those aren't just white people. That's a ridiculous assertion, right? That's a ridiculous assertion, right? No, they're replacing the percentage of the population, or watering down the percentage of the population that has a connection to America's founding values. And that includes people of all backgrounds, including many black people, many Latino people, people from all backgrounds have those values. And they're flooding in the borders, so they're watering down that population so that they could vote for bigger and bigger government control, and what they really want to do, which is to give jurisdiction over American governance from the federal government. They already got it from the states to the federal. They want to get it from the federal government to globalist bodies. So they want the United Nations and the World Health Organization to make the laws in the United States of America. And once you do that, it's no longer the United States of America. It's no longer, they've watered it down. And then, because people have been choosing not to have children for so long now, the birth replacement rate is 1.7. So the other reason that they need to flood the West, not just America, they're doing this all over the Western world. They're trying to make a world government, you understand? So the other reason they've been doing this all over the Western world is because the birth replacement rate is low, there's not enough young people. You understand? There's not enough young people. So they need labor. There's jobs that need to be done, and old people can't do them. So what they do is they flood the West in with young people. Specifically, they flood the West with young males from what they call third world countries. I don't call them that, but what they call third world countries. And then they use that as cheap labor, kind of an indentured servitude, because they pay them, in many cases, below minimum wage, right? And that's why you see what you've been seeing in the world. And you'll never get that from the media or anything, but that's the truth. Honestly, it's cheaper at the local farmer's market. Yeah, a lot of these farmers markets are actually much better. Like, Nicole and I get like, how many strawberries do we get at that farm? For like the same price for 1 pound of strawberry at the grocery store, we get like 6 pounds of strawberries at the farm. Today's Republican Party, I'm not in the Republican Party. Um, the Republican Party is not helping the people crossing the border, in that they're not actually trying to stop it. They just virtue signal that they are. Their job is to be controlled opposition. The agenda always goes forward. You see, the Republicans and the Democrats, they appear to be in opposition to one another, but in reality, if you're trying to control a society, you have the Democrats whose job it is to pull America. It used to be left. I mean, now it's just toward corporatist America, ironically, because they used to be anti-corporation. And the right wing, whose job it is to pretend they're fighting against it. The way you hurt people that are coming across the border is by leaving the border open. And the reason for that is the people are being trafficked. To get across the border, they're being trafficked by the drug cartels, you see? So 80%, I'm not exaggerating here, 80% of people that make the journey from South America to the United States are raped on their journey. 80%. And that's where all the human, you-know-what trafficking takes place. It's children, right? So by leaving the borders open, that's how you hurt those people. They don't care. These politicians don't care about these people the slightest bit. And if you're still in that Democrat-Republican world, then that's why you don't see it, because it's all a game. You got to understand that the Democrats and the Republicans are paid by the same people. They're puppets, and these are puppet masters, right? They're puppets, and these are puppet masters. And their job is to bring forward the agenda that the money on the top wants. So the money will actually fund the people that are supposedly against that agenda, but they're really not. My son wants to know if we still do Thursdays during the summer. So next week is going to be my last live class for a while. I don't know how long. I'm definitely going to resume live classes by September. Where the Bill of Rights course is running its course. So this week will be my last class for that. Starting in the next week or two, Nicole and I will be rolling out the science curriculum designed to teach the scientific method, and it's going to be really good stuff. And then I'm going to decide what I want to do with live courses. I might not resume them until September because I want to build out curriculum for September, where for the next year we have science curriculum. I want to find the right primary documents and put them all together. And I might do a writing program, so we'll see. So that's where we are with that. I do grow food. I do buy from farmers. I have the ability to do that. Not all do. So that's great. And listen, I actually have a lot of respect for you. I've appreciated your line of questioning. You have a very open mind. You have a worldview, which, we all form our worldview based on our perspective and based on our experiences and what we've been exposed to. I just think that a lot of your preconceived notions are related to propaganda coming from the system. And although the system blankets itself in virtue that it's trying to help people, it's not. It's not. And the whole system, like all this stuff it does where it's trying to help people, is designed to keep people in poverty. And they only give people two options, the Democrats and the Republicans, and neither one of them are actually going to help the people. Yeah, there's farmers markets everywhere. My family moved away from the city to start a farm. There's already local restaurants buying their stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Biden's just a face for a puppetry. He's a puppet. You could buy a whole cow through FFH, FAA, and 4-H sometimes. They'll process it for $600 to $800. Were you able to block them? If you want to get started with homeschool, go to hslda.org, Homeschool Legal Defense Association.org. They have the regulations you need to get started. In terms of staying financially stable, I don't know your finances, but I would suggest starting a side hustle at night to bring in some extra income, and maybe you can do it that way. Yeah, 1 to 4 hours a day at most to homeschool. Both parties, Coke and Pepsi, we want Sprite. That's good. Biden has the same policies as Trump as far as immigration. I don't know if that's true, but they're similar enough. I love the homeschool group, great group of people. All right, I've caught up. I'm calling it a day. I'm exhausted. If you're interested in what we do, classicallearner.com, Homeschools Connected. It's $10 a month with the discount code FREEDOM. And $10 a month with the discount code FREEDOM. You can find me, Classical Learner, on everything. I live stream Monday through Thursday at 9:30 a.m. So I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. unless I'm getting ready for the live class, in which I won't. But check that out. Freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. And I'll undoubtedly be back tomorrow, maybe at 9:30 a.m. Eastern to earn it. Oh, my America's great. Don't mistake the American government and the American military and all the shit corporations and the imperialism and the financial corruption and everything they do. Don't conflate that. There are two Americas. Why am I in America? Because America is also the greatest place in the world. I thought I explained that. Because people like Marine Princess live in America. People like Melissa, RVing across America, live in America. You see? We have a nation. See, we live within our means. We don't try to keep up with the Joneses. We marry. We have families. We have lots of children. We homeschool our children. We love our neighbor. Give our neighbor the shirt off our back, you see? We know our local farmers. We know our rights. America is the greatest place in the world. It's just simultaneously the worst place in the world. The world's a little more nuanced than that. All right, guys. It's been lots of fun, but I've got to run. Unicorn Mama, I hope to see you back here. I appreciate having you in here. All right, guys, classicallearner.com, hit it up. I'm going to give you a 10 count because I think it runs on a delay. 10.